This reminds me of all my old days when I was really, really into Minecraft in 1.6. I went on this server and I fell in. It was one of the giant servers, and I was a wide-eyed little kid that didn't know anything. I was like 14. And I guess I was 15. Anyway, I fell in with this guy, and he'd evidently set up this entire scheme, like long before I'd even got there. And it was a roleplay server. And oh yeah, no, it was, the trolling was. Alright, let me continue. Anyway, so I get there, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not? I'll do this." It's like. So I had no idea what he was doing at the time, so I'm just going along with his plan. And it turns out that the entire city they were in, they were doing like this pre-industrial thing. So their whole deal was, well, let me turn off my music. Turn it down. Yeah.
I didn't know we'd have a story time.
Yeah,
Do
no.
continue.
Oh no, I'm storyteller. But no, the whole deal was the whole city was like pre-industrial, and it was made out of wood. The entire thing was made out of wood, and it was.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was a really, really good looking city. It was really good. It was really big, and it had like 30 people living in it. It was a giant city, and there was probably 15 of them on for this. Evidently, it was a big deal. Evidently, they had like this whole mayor thing. They were doing hardcore RP, and he had somehow wired the entire city up to, or he had wired this pedestal where this mayor was going to give this speech crowning this new town hall that they'd all spent like a month making. And obviously, because it was made of wood and they didn't want anybody to grief it, they any fire that was made by players was like extinguished, like it wouldn't start, because fire in 1.6 was like ridiculously out of control. It was just like, fuck, if anything caught on fire, it was just immediately consumed. So he comes along and he has this whole thing where he's outside. He designed this whole thing of whole trail of redstone way the fuck out of the city, and it was up on this giant ass thing. Well, you see, he'd rigged the pedestal that the mayor was supposed to give the speech on with a
I like how you're
pressure
talking like the
plate.
Joker.
Huh?
Sorry. I like how you're talking like the Joker when you're saying this. It's really, really gives the atmosphere.
Oh, he'd rigged this place where he was supposed to give the speech. Well, obviously no one knew what the fuck was going on, except me and him. And I'd just like put one or two redstone things down. And hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it finally comes time. We wait for like an hour for the speech to start, and everybody's gathered out front of this giant, magnificent wooden town hall, and it was a big town hall. Well, his whole thing was he had this giant redstone trail set up to a dispenser that had one arrow in it, and the arrow was at the perfect height to hit just behind the mayor and land inside the whatchamacallit, inside the town hall. Yeah. Well, right in front of this thing was a little trail of lava to light the arrow on fire. And because it didn't count as player started fire, it was something straight out of a movie. It was.
You could light stuff on fire with the fire arrow?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, in 1.6.
I tried that. That never happened.
Really? Oh man, this was something out of a movie. It was he got up and because it was set up to delay just for dramatic effect and to keep the redstone wire going. And so it was on probably a 5 or 10 second delay, and all of a sudden, one of the townspeople goes, holy shit, the town hall's on fire. And everybody looks, and the entire thing is consumed. And the
Oh my
entire
god,
thing,
that's amazing.
because whenever you see, whenever you try to light something on fire, like the console will type in a command, like, you can't start this fire, putting out this fire in purple text. Well, just the entire thing is just purple text, purple text, purple text, purple text. The entire city goes up in flames in less than 10 minutes.
Oh my god.
That's amazing.
It was, oh my god, everybody ran back to their homes to get water buckets and were panicking over chat. Oh my god, it was the greatest thing ever. And the best part is, they never found out who it was. We completely got away with it. Oh man. I played, that was, oh my goodness, that was like the best server ever. Just because we trolled the shit out of it. And they were all a bunch of RP faggots. It was great.
Yeah.
But, second story with this guy. I could never pronounce his name. It was fucking weird. But, second server with this guy. He messaged me over Steam. I was like, hey, I found another server. And it's another RP server, but it's got this kind of cool thing going on. Where it's all underground and it's supposed to be dwarf and everything. Well, it turns out that their entire city was built under a desert. And the only thing holding it up was like a 1-layer thick thing of cobblestone. And in some parts, in like large portions of it, it was just sand. That was, nobody messed with it, so it didn't fall down. Well, without anybody noticing it, somehow, like he'd done this all before I'd even got there. He'd somehow wired the entire ceiling of this giant city of like 40 people to explode. And, like, it was like 3 blocks thick of sand, too. And, oh my goodness. Just, I get there and I'm like, hey, do you need help griefing this? And it's like, nah, I got this covered. He flips a switch and just all across the ceiling.
God.
And
That's
just
amazing.
you just wait for it, and all of a sudden just this torrent of sand just falls from the ceiling. It was so graceful, and then you just hear the like there was probably 10 people online at the time. You hear of everybody not in their house just immediately die, and then the spawn was under sand, so it spawned them in like the world spawn, which was nowhere near it. And they were like, okay, it's obviously the 2 guys who just joined, so they kicked and banned us.
Wow.
But I'm just like, I love you, man. You're the greatest griefer of all time. Those were the 2 most amazing griefing things ever.